I'd like to say a big hello to Joe and Ben, who are our panelists today. Yes, hello, and I'm Elizabeth, the organizer, as we originally said. So we'd like to do a proper introduction before we get started. So what we'll do is our panelists will introduce themselves, and then we will go through exactly what we're going to cover in the masterclass today. And don't worry, it'll all be explained step by step with lots of graphics. So, Joe and Ben, would you like to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, I'm Joe, and I'm the founder of Frank Communications and Build One For Me, and I've probably been working for about twice most of your lives. So yeah, lots of experience, and I bring hopefully lots of experience with me, and my colleague is...
Yeah, I'm Ben. So I've been working alongside Joe for about 8 years now. It seems quite a long time, but no, I started as an absolute beginner, and I'm this SEO specialist alongside Joe, and have basically built up my education as working on a job, and hopefully today I'll be able to give you some advice on the beginning of your journeys.
Incredible.
Sorry, Elizabeth. What we thought we'd do is we wanted to sort of tell you a little bit about us and our company and all those sort of introduce what we do, but rather than us just bang on about us, what we thought we'd do is we'd turn it into some lessons basically that we've learned and we wish we knew when we'd started out, in the hope that that will kind of help you think about really what we're doing, but it also tell you a little bit about our journey. If we sort of start off with the fact that, Frank started 22 years ago. So at that time, we were effectively a marketing communications company, and everything we did, the idea of it was to have an ethos, which was being fairly transparent, giving people good value. My background was an agency background, so I was used to working with some sort of quite big clients. We were printing magazines, we were printing marketing materials, and we were developing logos and brands and all those kind of things, traditional marketing stuff. The thing you've got to think about 22 years ago is that the internet, yes, it existed, but it was very much a sort of thing that people weren't really embedded in. I had a dial-up modem for the first few years of the company going. Literally it would take half an hour to download a PDF, which is just unimaginable these days. But our sort of ethos when we set up was we wanted to do, be a company that did a really good job for our clients, and we wanted to be relatively transparent the way we work, and we wanted to sort of involve our clients in their own marketing, which was something that agencies at that time just weren't doing. They were kind of telling clients what to do. Our view was that clients know more about their sector and much more about their business than we ever could. So that's why we sort of took that approach. And from the outset, clients really seemed to like it. So our lesson number one, Elizabeth, you can go to the first one, is that if it works and clients like it, do more of it. And that's exactly what we did. We discovered that clients really did like the attitude we brought, and that was really important. The second thing I want to talk about is the fact that Ben and I have been working for over 8 years together, as he mentioned, and he joined the company having just finished doing his degree in, I think it was business studies, Ben, is that right?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and he was, obviously we got on really well. I could tell he was hardworking. I could also tell he had pretty similar ideas to the way work should be and agencies should be. So he had less experience than probably the person I was looking for, but his attitude, his aptitude was absolutely there. So I also discovered very quickly and very luckily that he's a very fast learner. And Ben was sort of instrumental in helping us establish the digital arm of our business, and particularly our SEO, which is done under the Build One For Me brand. So if there's confusion, Frank is the parent company and Build One For Me is the digital arm of what we do. So lesson 2 is be flexible and open to changing your ideas when opportunities come knocking. I'm not quite sure how Ben likes to be referred to as an opportunity that came knocking, but that's effectively what he was. The third lesson is that one of the first things we did as Build One For Me, which was our digital arm, as I said, was we developed a content management system, our own content management system, to create low-cost websites. And we thought, this is a great idea. There's loads of companies that leave websites and they don't have much money. Isn't it a great idea? But the problem we had was that we still delivered and completely over-delivered on every single one of those websites. So we were effectively really ruining our own business model because we were spending far too much time developing websites that were costing very little. And that just doesn't make sense. So we realized pretty early on and pretty soon that we had to have a rethink. So that's lesson 3, is know when something isn't right and change it. And I think we've been quite good at that through our kind of through the whole time we've been going, really. So then as we worked more and more with SEO, one of the things we realized is it's a really competitive market. Agencies will promise you all sorts of things, which can be misleading, but they can also be just downright lying. There's things they will say they promise to deliver, but they won't. And we just don't want to work like that, and we've never worked like that. So we've spent a lot of time working with our clients, helping them build their business. And I think that what we've discovered is as their confidence grows in us, that really helps us. And they are often happy to recommend us to other people, though we also discovered they won't recommend us to their competitors, which makes absolute sense. Why would you want your competitors to have what they had? So I think lesson 4 for us is a reputation takes a long time to build, and sometimes you've got to be patient. You can really push those things, but actually reputation isn't something that happens overnight. It's something that you really have to kind of, be there for, take on board, listen to your clients, listen to the way things are going. And we've done that pretty much all the way through again. So the other thing during our sort of development is that Ben and I were working together. We had around 5 staff. We had about 5 sort of full-time freelancers, all working on our projects. Now, that doesn't sound very much, but if you convert that into salaries and costs, it was a lot of money. So I was spending most of my time running the business. I wasn't doing the business, I was running the business. Now that for some people is absolutely what they want, but I think for us it absolutely wasn't what we wanted, because I like doing the job I do. That's what really excites me. I love doing SEO. I don't want to be organizing other people doing SEO. So I think lesson 5 is that success is not always about the size of your company. And I think we took the decision that Ben and I would rather work really well together to do and deliver a great product and a great service, rather than have 40 people whose salaries we've got to pay. So we made that decision, and it means that we're paid fairly for our expertise, and we hopefully do a good job and our clients like us. So
wow, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jo. What an incredible introduction. And I know that our adventurers will take that to heart, especially as they're interested in starting a small business. Some things might not work, but they just have to keep at it and be flexible, and that a reputation won't come immediately. But if you are persistent and open to changing your ideas, and you do essentially what you like and want to do more of, then you'll be successful. So thank you for an amazing introduction.
You don't have to wait 22 years, but it can happen, and it does happen a lot faster.
Yes, you don't have to wait that long.
you won't not be earning any money till you're 40.
No, you can earn money straight away, but the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Perfect.
So
absolutely right.
Moving on to what we're going to cover in the masterclass today. What we will cover about search engine optimization.
All right. Do you want me to do this, Jess? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So yeah, we're going to cover as much as we can today, so you get everything you need to start your journey on this. So the first one kind of rolls off, I think, from your last masterclass, which is why have a website. So we'll go into that. The next one, which is what we're talking about today, what is search engine optimization, abbreviated to SEO. The next one that comes after that is what does SEO actually look like in the real world. So we'll cover the behind the scenes stuff, which is to do with your website and everything you do around it, but what actually does it look like when you actually come to the search engines. Number 4 is the things that affect SEO the most. We've actually made our own approach called the asset approach, which we'll touch upon a bit later on. Number 5 is name, address, and phone number, which again, we'll talk about a bit more later, but it's all to do with consistency is the key to SEO. And number 6, before we go away, we're gonna actually give you some tools to help you start the world of SEO. So without further ado, we're going to get into it.
Yes, those tools are going to be very useful.
Fantastic. Can you go to the next? Oh, you are on the next slide. Sorry.
Yes.
So the first query was really about why have a website. Now, obviously, these are all opinions, by the way. This is not fact, but it's what we've taken on board during the time we've been in business and with the business that we run. The first thing that's great about a website is it's a consistent and permanent place to send your potential clients. And by that, what we mean is, so social media will come and go. You'll put something up, it'll disappear. It'll get buried in a busyness of the internet. And the great thing about a website is that it will be there, it will be consistent, it'll always look the same whenever your clients go in, and it's permanent. And those are things that actually have a value in your business life. The second is that it is in-depth content. It's a place where you can talk about your products, your services, and your values. So whereas if you're putting out lots of stuff on social media, which we do encourage, great stuff, but actually it only sort of skims the surface of what you're about. That doesn't mean you have to get really boring and write stacks of content. What it means is it allows you to elaborate on the things that you're talking about on social media. It also will promote your business as being credible and trustworthy. Now, that may not be important to begin with, but it really is, especially if you're thinking about getting funding, whether your funding be from your family or friends, or whether you're actually going for something like crowdfunding in the long term. Having a website immediately gives your business idea some sort of credibility. And I think even though websites to some degree feel a little bit outdated perhaps to you guys, they just will continue that feeling of this is a business we take seriously. It's an opportunity to inform and educate your audience about your company and your products and your services. So by that, what we mean is, it's not, don't just talk about, you may have a sector that isn't that well discovered. People may not know what actually it is you do. And you can use your website to inform and educate, not patronize, but just say, you may not, this is what the product we're doing, this is why we're doing it. So it's more of an opportunity, and that comes back to the content, the in-depth content. But really think about, is my website informing my audience about something that they're not getting that information from elsewhere, and is it educating the audience? Again, it doesn't have to be patronizing in a way, but just think about what you're actually trying to tell people. And the last thing, which is perhaps very straightforward, is it's the thing about a website is you control the whole environment. So you control the way it looks, the way it feels, the pace of the feel and look of it, and also the journey. So you can help your user navigate to the pages you want them to go to. And from our point of view, and I think from a user's perspective, actually having control of that is really valuable, because obviously if you put something up on any other social media, you're coming and going, you're fitting in and out, whereas in your website it should be, think about it like a kind of place you go and go, oh, okay, I get what this company's about now, I understand it. And you can create that look and feel that sits comfortably with you and your business.
So not only can you put your unique stamp on it, but you also have the ability to look professional and trustworthy, and like, this is a real business, this is someone I should take seriously. They've put the effort in to make their own business, they've made the effort to have their website stand out, and it's just somewhere that, if anyone's curious about your business, you can just direct them straight there and they'll know immediately what's it about.
Absolutely right. That's absolutely perfect.
But it's no good if no one can find your website. So that leads into,
what is SEO? Yeah. So yeah, what is SEO? So that is a big question, but we're going to try and summarize it as best as we can. So to us, it's the process of helping search engines discover and, most importantly, crawl your website and its content. So the way that we will refer to Google quite a lot because it is one of the biggest ones, but in essence, all search engines work the same way. So what they do is actually crawl your website and its content, because they want to decide what they should be serving to their users. So when someone does a search query, they want to make sure that the search query is answered the best results. So it's really important for search engines to actually crawl your website with what they call spiders. They call them, that's why you got crawl. But what they do is basically go through your website, trying to understand the content, and then after that, try and serve the users with the best results. After that, it's about making your website perform better in search results and for users. So after a website's crawled it, we want to make sure that our website is performing better than other websites to make sure that we get towards, the top of the rankings, because we know if you're near the top of the results, users are going to go and click through to your website. So it's about making your website perform better in search result and for the users. And at the end of it, the ultimate goal, what we want from doing SEO, is getting the right traffic to your website. So whether that's to do with products, to do with services, or anything else, we want to make sure that the user is finding you on the internet so they can perform the actions that you want them to.
Right. Thank you for the concise explanation. So what does SEO look like?
Right, so what we've done today is we've actually done a few examples which may look familiar to you when you do searching, but it's actually quite amazing, and especially over the years, Google tinkers with everything it does in terms of how it shows users on different devices as well, but how it shows users as a result. So what we're going to do is start with the first example, which we've got a common theme going on here, but basically this first one is showing a search query for wooden toys for a 1-year-old. So that's the search query, which you can see right at the top. And it's probably no surprise to any of you is right below that there's something called sponsored links or AdWords or product advertisements. So these ones specifically at the top, because we've done a search for wooden toys for a 1-year-old, they've actually showed adverts at the top for specific products that might be relevant. So what's happening there is people have actually paid to be there. So that's why it's called a product advertisement. And then the one below that, you can actually see a sponsored link, which is again a paid for a PPC, Google AdWords, pay-per-click listing, and that takes you straight through to a specific website. So the one above is actually showing individual products, items which people have paid for to get there. And the next one is actually sponsored pay-per-click. So straight away, you can see on the search landscape that it's quite hard to get there. So people are actually paying for that space because they know it's a really, really important term. But then it comes into what we're looking at, and that will be on the next slide, if that's okay. So just below, this is what's come. So sorry, on the right hand side, this is basically how the whole page appears. We're actually just going each page slide we're going through is looking at each section. So below that, directly under those paid for links, is when we get the organic search listings. So local to here in the UK, we've got Early Learning Centre, which comes up for that search query. So for them, they're really, really happy because they're getting up there, because I don't know what the exact numbers are, but most people still do click through to organic search listings over AdWords or pay for click. So it's still really important to get you there. So SEO is such a fundamental to get in terms of marketing to make sure that people are seen. And right here we can see at the top there's two websites that show up. So you've got Early Learning Centre, and just a brief bit about this. So when you're looking at this, I'm sure anyone that has done a Google search is familiar with how this looks. But you've got your main heading there, which for Early Learning Centre is wooden toys. That comes as their title tag, which I think, again, on your previous masterclass, that would have showed up in how that appears. Below that, you've got a description, which here we can see there's 129 products, and it also says find all wooden toys at Early Learning Centre. So that's what they've actually specified, what they want to appear there to try and entice the user to go into it. So when we're talking about SEO, these things are really important, because this is just a snippet of information that is allowed to try and get people into the website. Below is something quite recent that Google started doing, which is people also ask for queries, or we refer to them as PAs. And what they've done there is they know, relevant to the search we've already put in, some other questions that people also ask. So if someone hasn't found what they're looking for on that particular bit before, they've also put some queries below which are quite relevant to the search. So if the user hasn't found what they're looking for, they might look in there and find a relevant item to what they're looking for. And below, there's some more organic search listings. And then if we go on to the next slide, and at the bottom, surprise, surprise, there's more sponsored links, which again is no surprise to anyone, because this is a very, very competitive query. And then what you've got below that is some additional searches which Google have said, again, if you haven't found what you're looking for, this might be relevant to you. So what they're trying to do at all times is keep you, the user, with them searching through the vast amount of pages or listings that are there. But this is an example to just show how important it is to get your listing there, because Google knows how important, if someone's looking for that particular search query, they're looking to try and potentially purchase a product from the website. So when we're talking about SEO, we're making sure that we're appearing there as high as possible, because it is a really valuable tool. And then at the bottom, you can also see again, on the one before, you can also see some relevant specific terms you may be interested in. So again, Google really are trying to keep the user on the page, and all these times, anywhere you click, there's going to be organic search listings showing up. So yeah, again, it just highlights how important SEO is to any website. And then we'll go on to the next example. So this is actually a local search query. So we're in Brighton in the UK, down on the south coast. What we've done here is actually kept to the theme of wooden toys. So we've done wooden toys near me, and you can see straight away it's actually changed the type of search. So what's happening here, very similar to the last one, straight at the top, there's actual products that have been shown as advertisements. But the next one, which is actually really interesting, is Google there have put a link to local directories that might help what you're find what you're looking for. So they know when a user's doing this type of query, they know that users are probably looking for a few different items. So this one is actually showing relevant shops local to our specific search area in Brighton, for example, and they know that people are probably looking for, a couple of shops that they might be able to visit locally. And then below, we're going to come onto this a bit later on, but this is showing a local map pack, which you might be very familiar if you've done a Google search near to you. And to get into there, you need to have a Google business profile, which again, like I said, we'll come on to a bit later on. But what this shows is relevant to where your search is. It's going to show Google business profiles for that particular business appearing near them. So it's really, again, really important. And Google, I think, only introduced this not too long ago, but they really do get the click-throughs to one, either to the website or for the business to show up near there. So this has become quite a critical part of what we call local SEO in making sure that you appear there, because if you're appearing there and quite high up, it's going to be almost imperative that people will come through and look at your business. So if you're getting there, you're doing a really, really good job. And if we go slightly lower down the page on the next one, and again straight under there, so after the local map pack is local listings, websites that show local to the area. So again, Google knows that if someone's done a near me search or a local search with a specific location, the user generally is going to look for someone near to them. So what they've offered up here is local shops in the area, which you might want to get through to. So again, this shows how important SEO is, because if you're there, it's likely that users can click through to you and be looking at your services or products that you offer, and are likely to engage with your business. And right at the bottom, again, we're seeing these people also ask for queries, and these are related searches that Google thinks is relevant to the search that's already happened. So again, it's really important. And to Google, their best interest is to keep the user on here, making sure that the users had a really good experience and satisfied, because for them, the user will then come back and another time if they're really happy with how they're searching. So yeah, all of it really, really important. And we'll come on to the next one.
So, so the first thing I would just say, I'm just going to talk a bit about brand searches. If you've got any questions or queries, do just put them in the chat, because we're happy to answer. Because in a way, we're sort of pushing through this fairly quickly. So what we did was a kind of general search to begin with, and then we did a local search. And you'll notice the company that came up locally to us was a company called Wigwam Toys. And what we just wanted to sort of show you here is that if you then put in Wigwam Toys, then you can sort of see how that search has sort of developed now, because you're kind of going down the track with SEO, with your own search, trying to find things. And so we're putting Wigwam Toys, and Google's immediately assumed that I want to buy a Wigwam, and it's sponsored advertisements from the competitors. It's not actually a bad thing for them to have done. It kind of makes sense. But on the right, you'll see the Wigwam Google business profile, Wigwam Toys. Now, Wigwam Toys, we know them, they're a fairly local toy company, but that is their Google business profile. And that's one of the things that Ben was talking about earlier. It's really important, if you can, to sign up for that. It's a free thing you can do, put the information in, and it just gives you look how impressive that is. I put in Wigwam toys and I straight away see Wigwam toys, wow, I can see where they are. They look really good. I want to be part of that. So it makes a lot of sense. And the other thing is, if you've got a similar name to another company, if you have one and the other company doesn't, that's going to be to your benefit, which is really, really good. So you'll see, so we've got some products at the top, then we've got the business profile to the right, and to the left, we've got the link to Wigwam's website. So, you know, it's a really, you can just sort of see how that digital story is coming together and hopefully working well. As I say, if anyone does have any queries though, please pop them in and we will answer them.
Yeah, we'll do a Q&A at the end and we'll answer any questions you may have.
Yeah.
But yes, it's super important to, you know, have a unique name, brand identity, to have your business profile. You know, imagine how impressive it would be if you searched your business and there it is on the side.
Yeah, if you can drop down the next one, that would be great. Next slide. Okay, so here, this is still within that search for Wigwam toys, and you can see that there are images that are shown around the web and they come up straight away. And again, oh yes, this is the company I thought it was, and you can have a look at those and it's great. You'll also see the Wigwam social media listings come up. And this is the point about the web, is it collects everything about you. If I ask for something like, you know, Wigwam toys, suddenly I'm getting the social media, I'm getting Facebook, I'm getting the business profile. So it just sort of shows you how all these things are tied up. You may not realize them when you sort of start out, but they are all tied up. And what Google really likes is to have multiple places that say to the user, or say to them, yes, this is a bona fide, it's a good company, they've got this, they've got that, and just sort of link everything together. So Google really like that process, and they work pretty hard at, you know, joining everything together, and that will come down to something we'll talk about later, which is called the NAP. But don't get too worried about it now, but we'll talk about how to sort of try and make sure that Google recognizes your company wherever it appears. So whether it appears in social media, on the web, wherever, it's a good idea to try and think about how that gets recognized. Okay, hopefully no questions, but if there are, please ask them. Yes,
thank you, everyone. I hope you all got that. Are we all on the same Google page right now? Not a very good joke, sorry.
Terrible. Right.
So we'll move on to, if that's all right, what influences SEO?
Yeah, so when we started thinking about SEO, what we found is it's quite a complicated thing because there's so many elements to it. So what we wanted to do was to effectively have something that we could talk about. So like almost like a product for us, and the product became asset. And asset stands for, as you can see here, architecture, social signals, storytelling, enrollment, and tie-in. And they're the things that we think you have to get right in order for Google to recognize your site and to start sort of giving you ranking, all those sort of things. So they're in a more detailed way, depending on the clients and things we're working for, but basically those are the essentials to being able to influence your search engine optimization effectively. And Ben's going to talk you through the architecture because that's the technical side of stuff.
Yeah, so architecture. So what we're talking about here is anything, well, everything to do with the website itself. So behind the scenes, which again, like on your previous webinar, you saw everything that goes into making a website. Now that is actually really, really important to SEO, because at the end of the day, like we were saying just now, for Google, they want to make sure that their users are having the best experience possible, because if they're giving the best experience possible, then people are going to come back to them in the future. So they want to show their users the best websites possible. So for that, we need to make sure that the structure of the website is really, really good. We need to make sure that the website is built correctly, everything's doing what it needs to do. And behind the scenes, like we said earlier, Google does crawl the website itself to make sure that all of these things are working properly, because it wants to be as confident as possible that it's giving its users the best experience. And to do that, they need to make sure that the websites itself are performing really, really well. So the technical structure of the website needs to be good, and that's where we refer to technical SEO, making sure all of that's working well. The next one is the navigation. So what we're talking about here, on navigation, what we're talking about is the website navigatable? So most importantly, the users get around the website, because if the users get around the website, search engine spiders can get around a website and crawl it. So what they look at here is how it's all linked together. So when you look at a website, you might look at, say, for example, the navigation menu. So that's quite a clear instruction to the users and to search engines. These are really important pages of the website. We want you to consider these when you're looking at them. So search engines do use navigation such as that. And also, for example, navigation might be something to do with like buttons. We call those call to actions, or CTAs abbreviated. But again, it's a really good instruction to show we consider these pages important. Therefore, search engines should consider this, as well as, if a user clicks through on a button and are satisfied, basically search engines can see exactly the same thing happening. The next one is sensible URLs and clear headings. So when we're talking about sensible URLs, you want to make sure that whatever page you put up has a URL which is really, really understandable. You don't want to do something that's completely different to what the page is saying. So we want to make sure it's really concise, as short as possible. I mean, there is no limit, but ideally you don't want to have a massive link going on in your URLs, but it needs to be something that's really suitable to what the page is giving. So that might be a particular keyword in there or something like that. And when we're talking about clear headings, again, kind of like the URLs, we want to make sure when a user lands on a website, there's a clear heading at the top to what the page should be about, because if a user's understanding that, the search engines are as well. Because the search engine, when it comes in, when the spiders are crawling the website, they're trying to understand what the page is saying. So clear headings help them do that. So having clear headings at all times, make sure that the search engines are going in and understanding the website. So after that, they can be very, very confident that they're giving the users, when they start ranking pages, the best things possible. The next one, when we're talking about page descriptions, so earlier on, you probably saw from our example, like I said, there was a description showing for each website. So we call that the meta description. In a meta description, basically, it helps search engines understand what the page is about, but also for users, they need to be really concise, because a user wants to know that where they're clicking to is what they want. They don't want to go click into a website and find the wrong thing. So when we're talking about meta descriptions, that is that. But also we're talking about page descriptions at the top of each page. Search engines tend to consider the content towards the top of the page more important, because they think, okay, well, if they're talking about this here, this page is about that. So making sure you have clear descriptions about what the page is about, and that's really, really important to get right. Again, kind of talking about the structure of the site, but making sure that all links work internally and externally. So internal links are basically links between pages. So they might be buttons, again, like navigation, they need to be working, because if they're not working and they go through to what we call a 404 page, which I'm sure many people have gone to before, it's not really good for the users. That they don't want to go somewhere and land on somewhere where they're stuck. So it's really important to get those all correct, but also external links. So making sure that they have a good experience. If an external link is basically a website that's outside of the current website, so you might be linking to it for information or whatever purposes that may be. But again, making sure that they work, because if a user's unhappy of seeing a broken link, you can bet that search engines are really not happy, because they don't want to be putting users into websites where they can't link between the websites and click between. And then the last one, which is really, really important in recent times, because we all use different devices, the website needs to work across all devices. Again, it's really, really important. And in recent times, what Google does now is actually probably considers the mobile device more importantly than a desktop device, because it knows fundamentally most people do access websites via mobile. So if it's working across all devices, you're doing a good job. And if you're doing a good job, Google will reward you, in terms of rankings and so everything.
Yeah, so make sure it's all clear, easy to access. There are big calls to action, so buttons. Your website has areas like about or order. It's not all on one page and people have to try and find where's the information. Oh, I want to buy this, but I'm not sure where. So that's make sure that the architecture is really clear for someone to read.
Okay, the next thing we're just going to have a quick sort of talk through is about social signals. And for us, what we meant is this is about all the social media type of things that you might have that you can direct people to your site, because that's actually what you should be doing. So use social media for that end. When you're putting up a post on anyone's social media, try and direct people back to your site. Try and say, oh, go and visit it here, or more information, or wherever it is. It's just quite important that you don't forget you've got a website when you're doing all the social media stuff. The next thing is make sure that the tone is consistent, and that's quite a basic thing, but what it means is try to always be the same. If you're posting as a company, always make sure that your language is kind of similar. Don't suddenly put in something that is alien to your values and the way you are and the way you want your organization to be. So have a sort of consistent tone across the social things you do. Ensure that all the NAP information is the same, and that I will talk about again a little bit more at the end, but that's what we talked about having this sort of consistency so that Google can see that your social and the website and everything you're doing is all connected to each other, which is just incredibly important. Boring, dull, but important. And lastly, register with Google Business Profile. It's really good for local search. I mean, we saw that earlier. You can kind of put posts and things on Google Business Profile if you want. It's somewhere, it's just a great place to go and put things up there. Again, doesn't seem terribly sexy and interesting, but actually it is, because it is just that thing that kind of, it's the glue really that gels all these things together, which I think is really important. So that's the first S. The second S is storytelling, and that's basically about, again, as we spoke about earlier, use your site to tell users about your products and services. It's not rocket science, it's very sensible. Make your story compelling and engaging, and that's a little bit about thinking about your audiences. Who are they? What are they going to find interesting? So the story, whether it be social media or whether it be on the website, just really think about that story. What are you trying to tell people? What do you want them to know? And that comes back again to that thing we said about having a website so you can inform, educate, and entertain people. They should sort of be your, that should be throughout everything you do. You should always be trying to do that anyway, because that just makes you interesting, and that means you will relate to people and engage with them. Ideally, include your locality in content if it's important to your business type. If your business is completely global, then sometimes you don't need to do that. But actually, if you are like we're based, as we mentioned, on England's south coast, and we will put things out and we will encourage our clients to put things out that are about where they are. So when people are looking for people specifically in that area, they can find them. And the other thing is, don't overstuff your content generally with keywords and phrases, because it doesn't seem natural. And our advice is always keep your content as natural and as compelling as it can be. That is never going to do you any harm. It may do you some good. So always be yourself. Just make sure it's stuff people want to read about.
Yes, make sure that you're yourself. Be yourself, number one thing. But at the same time, try to keep it consistent. So if you have a fashion business, for instance, and someone goes to your website and it says, we do grunge fashion, but then they go to your Instagram and they say, we do formal fashion, they might get a little confused. So make sure it's one story.
Yeah, that's perfectly put, I think. The next area is enrollment. And this is basically, the reason this is important is when you're a small business, you have the opportunity to utilize bigger websites that are far more, they've been around for far longer than you have. So actually look out for local or sector listings. So either listings in your area or listings that are relevant to your sector. And you can often find those by just punching in, the name of competitors and things. That's actually the fastest way to find it. Put in a competitor and see where they're listed and see where they're coming up, because that will help you see them. But it's a really simple thing, and it's free. That's what's so amazing. Most of these things are free. I don't really advise paying for any listings. Certainly not when you're setting your business up. This enrollment again is this NAP, which I'm going to talk about in just 2 seconds. It's, as I say, it's not interesting NAP, but it's just making sure again that you're consistently represented across the web. And that's why, when you're putting your listings out, make sure they're all the same. They're all saying the same thing. And where possible, connect to local groups or industry bodies. I mean, connecting to a local group and then connecting to you and everyone, and Google goes, oh, this is a company that people want to be part of, we want to talk about. So it really can work. So, just always think about where can I put my details that might help me get business for the things that matter to my business. And then the last one down here is tie-in. So, Ben, are you going to talk about this one?
Yeah. Let's go for it. So yeah, the last bit of the asset approach is what we call tie-in. So this is essentially a little bit of what Joe was talking about just now, but this is kind of stuff that's actually outside a website, but also vitally important to SEO. So where you can, encourage others to naturally link direct people to your website. So when it comes to links outside the website, we call these backlinks. Now, backlinks, Google uses these as almost votes of confidence to trust your website. So it wants to see out everywhere on the internet, you know, who's linking to each other, because if a trustworthy website is linking to another, Google's like, oh, okay, well, they're helping us do our job because we kind of trust this website, but because they're being linked to, they must be really trustworthy. So if they trust your website, they're more than likely going to actually put you up the rankings, because they're, again, like we keep referring to, if they're happy and, you know, they're making sure they have the best user experience for their users, then the users will be happy. So if you can, where possible, encourage others to naturally link to your website. Now that might be things, you know, well, the next one actually, ideally, the link should be from sites with similar values as yourself. So these are actually called topical links. So for example, we'll go back to our wooden toys, you know, example from earlier on. Let's say, for example, you've got a wooden toy shop, you know, your website is selling wooden toy products, but let's say you have a link from a really well-respected wooden toy, you know, blogger or something like that, where Google considers these really, really trustworthy, really, really topical. But if they link to your website, Google again going to be, oh, we can see the link, so therefore the website that they're linking to must be, you know, really trustworthy. So therefore we'll reward them with a better space, you know, when it comes to rankings. So it's really important because it helps Google to try and make sure that users are getting the best experience if they can see links, because it basically helps them do their job. So we see those as votes of confidence, and having topical links are really, really important. And we've actually seen this firsthand, you know, having topical links, how much it can enhance, you know, people's SEO in general.
Yeah, get linked to wherever you can. Get help from wherever you can. It's especially when you're first starting out.
Yeah. Although don't necessarily go with these backlink people who say, oh, we'll give you 100,000 back.
No,
do that.
We would always say, always do these things naturally, make them look and feel as natural as it can, because that's what that represents your organization. It's not trying to screw, you know, kind of screw the statistics or anything, just be as honest as you can. Okay, I'm going to talk lastly about NAP. Now, the NAP is very simply your name, address, and phone number. That's essentially what you need to have consistently across the web. So your company name, you may sometimes refer to yourself as, you know, like with us, are we Frank? Are we Frank on the web? Are we? There's lots of various ways, but when you create your NAP, and what we advise is you just put this in something like an Excel spreadsheet. Seems ridiculous, but always get your name written in the same way. So for example, if you're called Great Fashion Incorporated, that is what you always want to be known as. And that will be on your website. You need to have it on your social media. You need to have it on your LinkedIn profiles. Everywhere you put it, have it on there. Write your address in the same formula. So if you tend to write, you know, your city or without the name of your locality, but you put the city, always do it consistently, because then Google will really easily work out that yes, you're the same person from the same company, and they'll get it. Make sure your phone number, again, very simple, but try and always write it in the same way. The other thing you can do, and we would recommend this, when you have that spreadsheet, create a couple of short descriptions about what your business does. So this will enable you to, when you go to listings and it says, what services do you deliver, you can then literally cut and paste that. So it's the same wherever it appears. We normally recommend doing yourself a short one. So sort of like, you know, literally 50, 100 characters, and then a longer one, because it depends what the listings companies will let you do. But it sounds so ridiculously simplistic, but it really, really helps Google join up, you know, with all the things, all your presences everywhere. It helps Google join you up, and that is what you want. That is what will help you move up the rankings. So basically, use a consistent NAP to improve your digital presence. It's as simple as that, and it sounds so simple that you can't quite believe it's true, but it really makes a difference.
Right, thank you so much for that. So yes, be consistent.
Yeah.
Most important
Have I mentioned you
advice.
should be consistent?
Yes, yes. No.
Sorry.
Cool. So yeah, before obviously like we sign off and everything, this is the fun part. You get some tools to that are also free, which we love, that you can use to monitor your website. So we've referred to a couple of times your Google business profile. So we've actually added a link there, which if you're interested, you can actually have a look through. They've got lots of documentation about how to get started, but this is a really, really important thing. If you're starting a business, like we've said before, to show up in those local map packs and everything else, that's a really good way to get started. Google Analytics, again, a free tool. The links there. Basically, what Google Analytics does is there's a bit of code that goes onto the back of your website, and it helps you to see what's going on. You know, how are users interacting with your website, what page they're going to, and it helps you decide on future decisions that you might make in terms of content. You know, are users really liking this content? Are they not liking this one so much? It just helps you with your future decisions. Google Search Console is basically your way of talking to Google. So that's another free tool to use. It helps you, one, tell Google, you know, this is our website, we exist, please come and crawl our website. And then after, like we said earlier, when Google crawls your website, they can then start indexing it and ranking it for things. And what this tool also does, it actually shows you the search terms that you appear for. So it's actually quite fun once you start seeing your website getting ranked and seeing what terms it comes up for. And again, like the analytics, it helps you to see what future content you might make, because it actually allows you to see what users are searching for. So again, a brilliant tool. Bing Webmaster Tools works in a very, very similar way to Google Search Console. We haven't talked much about Bing tonight, but basically it's the same preference, but everyone's talking at the moment about AI, and at the moment Bing offer a really, really good AI system. So it is very likely over the coming months and years that Bing will start to increase its market share. So we also advise to get your website registered on Bing Webmaster Tools, and that's the link to do that. Another tool that we use in-house, which has a free and a paid for version, but the free version is actually really good and accessible to look around. And what SEMrush does is it does a lot of things, but most importantly, it helps you to do keyword research. So you can actually, if for whatever you're trying to get your website to appear for, you can actually see how much times roughly on average users are searching that per month. So it's actually a really good way to start creating your content and helping you to decide what you want to base your content around. So we advise signing up for a free account in there, and it's actually, again, another really fun tool to try and see what people are doing on the internet, and yeah, it helps you with your website creation.
Yes, thank you for that. They're all free, and we know how much everyone likes free utilities and tools. I mean, we certainly use some of these ourselves, and the ones we don't, we'll be trying out. So everyone, also, since the recording will be available later, you'll be able to come back to these links later if you haven't got enough time to check them out just now. And I hope you've all enjoyed that so far. And if you have any questions or didn't understand anything, please feel free to post your questions very soon, and we will be answering them in just a minute. And yes. So thank you, Ben and Joe. That was an incredible masterclass. Thank you so much. I learned a lot myself. And check your email inbox soon for the recording, everyone. So first of all, I'm going to post a feedback form. It should only take you 1 or 2 minutes in the chat. So I'm going to post the link here. Yes, so the link is in the chat, but it will also be in the email sent to you at the end of the day with the recording. So please feel free to fill out that 2-minute feedback form. It will really help us improve our masterclasses in the future. And we really want to hear what you think. How easy or hard was the masterclass? What did it challenge you? Did you learn something new? Anything you have to say is really important. And yes, if you also would like to ask a question, now's the time. So I know that some of you had your hands raised earlier. I know Prince had his hand raised. And I know there are some participants who I think are still here. Maggie from Kenya, Gia from India. Yes, so Okay, everyone, would you like to answer some questions? Please go ahead. We'll just give it a minute for people to type. Yes, and Ben and Joe, how did you find the masterclass?
Well, we just hope it was useful for you, really, to be fair. I mean, hopefully it was. I think we were talking to you earlier and we were saying that the thing with SEO is it's actually a very long-term and very deep kind of thing to do. But actually what we're hoping we've given you is all an idea of A, how SEO works, and B, how you can start making it happen on your website. That's what we hope to have done.
Yes, we hope so. And we hope that what you've learned in the masterclass can help you bring your websites to new heights. Or if you don't have one, you can set up a free one at many different free website creators and have a go yourself. So please feel free to, if you do that, if you use any of the free tools listed, let us know how you get on with it. And if you have a question you prefer to ask privately, you can always email us at info@enterpriseadventure.org. And we will be happy to answer your questions if you would like to ask them privately. Or if you have a question for Joe and Ben, I'll be happy to send them on. But yes, there is a question. Kindly explain how to improve your website on SEMrush. That's from Prince.
Okay, Ben, do you want to handle that one?
Right. So okay, so as I was saying just now, so SEMrush offers different tools on it itself. We use it for various things, but what you can do is, first of all, once you've created a website, you can actually go onto it and see what your websites appearing for different key terms. It will show also things like we were talking just now, like is there any backlinks going towards your website, which we said how important that is. But one of the most important things, like we said just now, is the keyword research. So when you're creating your website and you're wondering what content you want to create, it's a really good way to see what sort of questions users are asking on search engines. You'll be going on there to make sure, is there a lot of people searching for this particular query? If they are, should we be doing that? And also the relevant queries around it. So you might already have, a bit of content in mind that you want to write about, but you also want to see, is there any things associated with those particular terms that, you can answer within your content? Like we said earlier, topical content's really, really good. If you can do similar keywords within the same bit of content, then you're potentially answering the question for your users. And if you're doing that, then Google and other search engines will look at your content and be like, okay, well, they're actually, answering these particular questions, therefore we might rank them for those queries. So yeah, that's how you can use SEMrush to improve your website.
Does that help you, Prince? Hopefully it does.
Yes, Prince. If you're still a bit stuck, then feel free to send a question on and we will be happy to explain in further detail. If anyone else has a question, we'd love to hear it.
Okay, thanks, Prince, for your feedback. That's great.
Oh, there is another question coming in. Oh, Prince says, yes, thank you. Oh, great. And we know you've been super active on the Enterprise Adventure recently, so it's great to see that you're here. And I hope that everyone has had a chance to check out the feedback form. If you can't open it now, we will be sending an email later, so don't worry. Yes. And we hope that this masterclass has been just as enjoyable as the last one. So yes, I'll just give it one more minute, just in case anyone has one more question they'd like to ask. If not, wow, and we didn't overrun at all. Right on time. Yeah. Sometimes we do overrun, but not this time. I'm very glad to hear. And I know there were some participants who said they could only join for half an hour. So thank you for popping in as well. Yes. And if there's anyone in a class, hello. Yes. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for coming. And thank you so much to Ben and Joe for all your help. And yes, I like the class, said Sabiha. Oh, that's so nice to hear. Thank you, Sabiha. Yes. Oh, it's really nice to see everyone here. There are some faces who I haven't seen before either, which is, welcome to the Enterprise Adventure. It's great to see you. So on that note, I think it's time to wrap up. So thank you to Ben and Joe. I'll be sending you both an email very shortly. And thank you everyone for attending.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Bye.